This is Naroki 5. I'm going to be doing these videos until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this noble objective by contributing to my Patreon. Link is down below. Thank you very much.
And hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout. I am your brave and fearless host, Naroki 5. With me tonight is a whole story. We got Vinny all the way from New Zealand, who's actually doing his own show right now. So you're welcome for the confusion, Vinny. But I am your your host, and like I say, I want to keep doing this until I die or find something better to do in the Rocky 5. Vinny is with us all the way from New Zealand, who's simultaneously doing two shows, which kind of makes me an envy of him. So, Vinny, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Vinny Eastwood. I was New Zealand's first truther, broadcaster, YouTuber kind of guy, and I had more subscribers than the mainstream media here in New Zealand did on their YouTube channels. And interviewed about maybe 2,000 of the world's top members of the truth movement about hundreds of different subjects for hours a pop. Was doing 2 hours a day, 5 days a week on American Freedom Radio from 2010, but I started in 2008. So I've been doing this a very long time, seeing a lot of people come and a lot of people go because they lose their sense of humor about all of this. And look, the world is run by child trafficking Satanists. You're living in a high-tech global police state. It could be worse, like...
He could be one of the four chaos gods.
Yeah, with the touch of Nurgle. And why is it that people like me have had all their work taken and deplatformed and so forth? I was just thinking about it today, how the memory of what you do and who you are just disappears over time, as I have to right now because I've got to go to my show. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you later.
Right, thanks.
TheVinnyEastwoodShow.com. TheVinnyEastwoodShow.com. Catch you later.
Thank you, Vinny. V, so it looks like it's just going to be the three of us again. V, introduce yourself.
Well, you guys know who I am. Vinny, okay, I guess he's gone. Well, I guess you guys plug in. Yeah, I don't know. You guys know me. I'm V, host of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show, which is currently on hiatus. Most of my stuff is on pause because, well, as some of you may know, I've got a couple of movies I'm gonna be acting in, and so yeah, I got about 6 months to focus on weight loss so I can do these things. So I've got to get down to the States, and I will be to the States here in a couple weeks. So you guys might end up seeing me at some point because I will be driving all over the country and maybe even up into Canada. I know there's some people there in Alaska I need to see, so I might just come by and see you guys. Who knows? But anyways, tlbtalk.com. I'm one of the directors and one of the owners, so definitely go by there, visit the site. Yada 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 yada, blah blah blah. I can go on forever, but we'll just leave it there.
And of course, last but certainly not least, he was smart enough not to actually put the GIMP suit on today. So he was ready, and he was ready and raring to go. He had to. He had to. The aliens, however, in the background, the gray aliens in the background, still haven't fully taken off their GIMP suits yet. So Pearson, stop being a voyeur and actually pay attention to the show and introduce yourself.
Well, actually, funny enough, I just did buy a new pair of boxer briefs from Dollarama, so that's the closest they're going to get to a gimp suit today. So thanks very much. That's. Oh God. That running joke is not going to die anytime soon. Thanks. Fuck both of you.
Well, hey, at least you can fit in a gimp suit. I'm the size of a freaking house, so just be happy.
What, you're not comfortable in your own skin? Oh my God.
Oh man, it's too much.
Well, I know for myself, I could certainly do with shedding about 20 pounds. 20 pounds of fat would go away, which...
Yeah, I got to drop 100, my friend.
Well, my problem is beer. It's one of my best friends, and it's kind of my coping mechanism right now as well, too. But I'll draw my tears and my beers, and I'll be fine. So that's about it. Back to you, my friend, and what topics of stupidity are we going to be going over today?
Oh well, first of all, before we talk about that, I've been in semi hiatus myself for most of the last 6 months. Most of it around employment issues and so on and so forth. I'm getting close to the end of the rotation on this gig. It looks very much like I'm going to be coming back again, though, until I actually know I'm coming back. I'm going to be very careful with what I do when I get back. I'm tempted to go on a small, because the roads are still going to be fairly decent right now. If I wait until the end of the next rotation, we're going to be into November, and it's like, you're kind of rolling the dice there. The other good news is that because I have time now, I was actually able to share Best Buy for the first time in months, I was actually able to do a full run on a video, and I did Best Buy Undercover. Some very interesting responses to that, I should point out. A couple people obviously seem to think that everybody's got the resources of O'Keefe Media Group or a media thing. It was like, oh, well, it wasn't professionally done. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm one guy with a video phone camera, right? Like, another one. And this guy obviously, this is what happens.
Hold on. Well, hold on. If you made it an undercover thing, if it looked professional, that means you had a camera crew and it was all set up. Do people think before they talk?
No, yeah. Well, that was that was one individual, and I pointed out to this person. It's like, yeah, well, I'd like to see what you do with a video phone camera, and when the one I did in Edmonton was by myself. The other part in it is that and even though it's clearly stated at the start of the video that I turn the camera off when I go into the store, because it would be too obvious if I was walking around with a camera in the store. One asshole accused me of just basically walking in and then walking back out, and it's like, what are you, a fucking idiot? I clearly say at the start of the video that I'm turning the camera off when I walk into the store, right? Anyway, no, he watched about 5 minutes. He watched about 5-10 minutes of the video and decided that it was crap. And it was like, yeah, well, dude, you didn't watch the whole thing. And the other one is, and this is really, I found this to be really particularly interesting. There was actually more than three, it's probably a handful, that disputed this And a couple of them, actually, and here's the really curious thing, all of them were not white. All of them. Right? So, yeah, and hi. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Someone just walked in here. I gotta have to switch locations. Yeah, hold on. Somebody just walked in. I gotta have to switch locations here.
All right. Yeah. So not full loaf of bread. You got some wheat in there, some
yeah, hold on a second. I gotta switch locations. Sorry.
Well, we might as well
for
just...
a bit, or
go ahead.
yeah.
I'm just talking.
Okay.
While you transition.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, I gotta switch locations here. Somebody just walked. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
No, you might as well mute yourself while you're walking around. That's fine, and then V and I can fill in until you're ready.
Okay, hold it. No. I just got to go over the next one. Somebody just said he wanted to walk in. Oh, for fuck's sake! Somebody's fucking the other one location. Wow.
When it rains, it pours. Welcome to Naroki's world.
No. So Naroki doesn't understand. He's got to go into the stall blow without the hole in it.
Well, I mean, he can, but just be careful of those fingers that are coming through, going around and around and around, if you know what I mean. Or it's going in and out and in and out and in and out.
Oh, man.
Oh, I got to find my revenge somewhere, somehow. You can't believe that. You can't. All right, well, let's fill this in here a little bit. I'm going to go to... shit, can't do it here. Hold on. Show must go on.
You know, he's going to have to find some... he'd be better off rolling around on the hay.
Well, whatever works for him, I suppose. Okay. All right, so...
Go to the whole...
Okay, I'm going to bring the topics in here.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
On your knees, boy.
Yeah, no.
Yo.
All right, so yeah, no. One guy decided it was, even though I don't mention black people at all. Well, I mean, like a couple of times because I noticed that these, like in particular in Edmonton, they're not hiring anybody other than East Indian for the most part, other than East Indians. I mean, this one dude decided that that the thing was all about black people, and I had to point out to him, it's like, yeah, hey, dude, like, I don't mean to break it to you, but not every discussion about race has to be about black people. He got really mad at that, like really mad, and I was like, well, yeah, dude, I hate to break it to you, but yeah. It was like his comment was, oh, well, you know, heaven for you, maybe you should go. And basically what he did is his comment was, well, maybe you should just order through Amazon. That way you absolutely know that the black person didn't handle your package. And it was like, your order. And I'm like, dude, the video is not about black people. It's about, basically it was about anti-white racism. He got really pissed off at that. I was like, well, yeah, this might come as a shock to you, but not every conversation about race in North America is about black people.
Maybe he got jabbed.
He got mad about that.
Well, maybe he got jabbed and we're just waiting for the death frequency to go through, and people like him will go. Black, white,
yep,
yellow, whatever. Just saying. Anyway.
So yeah. Anyway, I'm actually back in my tent. I'm surprised I have internet reception here, but maybe it's because I'm on my phone. I've actually got full bars too, which is a strange thing. So okay, for those of you who don't know, I am at Patreon as Naroki5. I am a subscribe star at the Red Pill Nation. Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, MGTOW TV, Brighteon. I actually do have a YouTube account, but I don't promote it anymore. Just, you know, they're too goddamn censorious over there. Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, TLB Talks and communities.win as well. And the topics for tonight's show are, and we got a rather interesting lot tonight. Topic number 1, did Elon Musk stop World War III? 2, potential constitutional crisis in Israel. Knesset passes laws limiting the courts overruling it. That one actually is a lot more, you're starting to see this more and more frequently happen when it comes to globalists, by the way. Topic 3, ironically enough, since I was just mentioning them, YouTube brings in more censorship around medical misinformation. What a coincidence. Hint, hint, we know what's coming. Topic number 4, New Mexico and Soros-bought Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham Re-Issues newly worded gun ban after first attempt was shot down in the courts. Oh, that one was extra special. Topic number 5, and I'll call this one a Rearson special. Pornhub employee caught admitting Pornhub has been looking the other way in regards to child porn. Yikes. And topic number 6, Luke Rudkowski sentenced to prison time for being present at J6. Yeah, that one was actually not particularly good. Anyway, let me just timestamp this and we can get going. Okay, so what happened with what happened? Elon Musk let his Starlink system become available to the Ukrainians for use of communication and so forth. And he did this despite the fact that he shouldn't be. There's a lot of people getting involved in the Ukraine that shouldn't be. What ultimately happened here is that the Ukrainians had this really good idea of using into Sevastopol, which is the Russian naval port in on the Black Sea, and basically having a version of Pearl Harbor, except with drones, and it would have been an absolutely devastating attack. Here's the problem: in order for it to have been pulled off, it would have needed international cooperation, aka the West would have had to have directly intervened in the war for it to happen. Now, which would have literally kicked off World War III. It's been very obvious how it had to work. We're very pissed. But here's the thing: had the Ukrainians been able to do this, it would have started World War III, because that would have been a direct act of war on the part of the United States and the West against Russia. Would have been World War III. Somehow, Elon Musk wasn't stupid. He knew what this meant, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do that." Idiot, who apparently have forgotten what the term mutually assured destruction means, got really, really pissed. And it was like, and there's other people going like, "What are you fucking stupid?" If they had done this, we would have been in full scale war against Russia. And Elon Musk realized it and said, "No, I'm not going to let my system get used that way." And he said, "No." Elon Musk is somehow the villain in this particular situation. And as I say this, I got to say, I'm not completely sold on Elon Musk. And again, if you've been listening to me long enough, I understand that I'm not sold on anybody in general. But the whole situation was that Elon Musk just, for all intents and purposes, even though he wasn't going to be the chief architect of it, Elon Musk pretty much prevented World War III. And there are people literally so stupid that they don't understand what the concept of World War III is. When I point out, and this is something that even with a lot of liberals, especially the older crowd, the that grew up around mutually assured destruction, like they were, oh, right? It's like, what's the big deal? And you're an idiot, and blah 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 blah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right. Uh, oh, for God's sakes, man. Sorry. Both the place. The only other place that there's no privacy. Any other place that I go. Sorry. I hate to say that, man. It's like there's somebody in the TV room, and I don't want somebody overhearing, and there's somebody in the other TV room, so I can't go there, and I can't go to the kitchen because somebody's definitely going to overhear me there. And the only other place to go is the offices, and that place is just crawling with people. So yeah, we're just going to have to make do. How am I sounding on your end, Rearson? Rearson?
Yeah, you're not bad. A bit spotty, but it's the best that we have to work with, and it's going to have to do.
Yeah, sorry, V. I mean, I would like to, but I mean, somebody just walked in.
Okay, I just want to let you know. That's all.
Okay, so anyway, the younger crowd does not seem to grasp the concept of mutually assured destruction, right? It's like I even point out to them, like, in a nuclear exchange between us and Russia, everybody dies. Like everybody dies, and it's like, oh well, they can only the Russians haven't been maintaining a system. They might only be able to get 10 to 15% of their stuff, and I think it's like, oh, to quote Rearson here, oh, so everybody died 3 times instead of 30 times over. That's immense relief.
Look, it's good. It's good to know. It's good to know there's only 10% of the world being blown out 17 times rather than only once. Sorry, only one time rather than 17. Lovely. Fuck.
Yeah. So
anyway,
I think this is probably part of the reason. And again, right. The other part on this is that I keep hearing the year 2027 getting bandied around. Which is, by the way, is why they have started targeting the manosphere, because the overwhelming number of men in the manosphere are, unless they're actually in the armed forces, they are absolutely not going to pick up a weapon and fight for this current government, like, at all. Like, MGTOWs won't do it, period. Red Pill to MRAs might, because they're usually a little bit of an older crowd, but they're too old to fight. And again, even the Red Pill PUA dating coach crowd, like, they know what's going on to a certain degree, so they wouldn't. A lot of them aren't going to necessarily be jumping up to join either. So anyway, thank you, Elon Musk, for making sure that we're all not dead and glowing in the dark. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we definitely have a difference of opinion on this one. World War III is already happened. It's already been going on. What qualifies for a world war? White countries
Okay, I mean, I'm talking
kicking the
about
crap out of each other.
All right, well, I mean, first of all,
sure, blame the white guys.
There's more. I gotta step in here. Russia is primarily Caucasian. If you out east, it is definitely not exclusively white country either. And the definition is a direct confrontation between Russia and China and NATO. That would be the full scale World War III. Continue.
Okay, well, because I guess when you have NATO and the UN committing genocide in Africa and the Middle East. Well, I don't know, whatever. Well, Israel being the head of it. Yeah, I don't know. maybe that's more of a genocide than a war. I know Obama's killed as many people with drone warfare than your average brutal dictator. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. Elon, listen, this whole censorship thing. I mean, it's coming. It has to. There's so much information out there. There's too many people out there that, well, I mean, you have a small awakening after every big lie that's pushed, right? You have those people. I think we've already discussed this. You know, like, conspiracy theorists are laughing now because so many things have been proven true. So after every big lie that's pushed out there, you're gonna have a way. You gotta have a way to either continue to discredit people or just to shut off their free speech altogether. I hope that people can recognize this. I hope that because those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? So, as the uneducated masses that are getting dumber and dumber, it's going to allow the elitist, the globalists, to do whatever the hell they want to do with us. And hey, as long as there are people out there dying from heart attacks, their hearts exploding from the vaccines, hey, they're shortening our lifespans with any kind of way that you can think of. Yeah, it's coming. It's on its way. So, World War III, I mean, that's just one of those things to distract people. They don't want you to understand that there's a globalist genocide going on what I just mentioned earlier. They want you to worry about the real war, U.S. and Russia, right? Because that's what matters. Nobody else matters. And that's fine. That's fine. But people can worry about that, or they can be the master of their own freaking destinies and prepare and even do something about it. And that's always the position that I have always tried to put myself into. So, I don't know. I'll go ahead and pass on to Nursing.
Turn the frogs game. So I wanted to throw that in there, but wasn't.
Turn the freaking frogs game.
Yeah, look at our kids right now, but that's another story. Not my son. He likes girls. Well, he likes to look at it. He just doesn't like to look at the fat ones. Sorry, V. Anyway.
Hey, pass from my more cushion for the pushing.
More love and.
Hey, I'm a big guy. I need a lot of cushion.
You're off in your ass? Okay, fine. I wasn't gonna go there. I wouldn't think.
I said okay. I'm a big guy. I need a lot of cushion. I'm a big guy. Am I breaking up too?
I'll leave that one alone. Anyway, well, in terms of the body counts that are piling up for people that have died suddenly, like my uncle, at best, I think this is World War IV, but more likely 5. I mean, it's been basically confirmed with the U.S. Senate hearings with Dr. Sickle, Mr. Death himself, Fauci, that, yeah, the United States was involved with gain of function. Can you say biological weapon? Because that's exactly what it is. They're just putting a nice little bow tie on it to make it seem a lot less than what it isn't. That's just my opinion, but I don't think I'm that far off. Now, in terms of all of this is what's going on with Musk and Starlink and Ukraine and the whole fucking bit, I'll be honest with you, I don't fucking know anymore. Like, there's so much out there. There's so much going on. It's so difficult to have a straight answer. And I'll use the... It's not really a joke, but I guess the analogy, if you got 5 blind men feeling around an elephant, they're all describing what part of the elephant is, and together that, yeah, that's how you could interpret what an elephant is. But at the end of the day, they are very limited to what is immediately perceptible to them, however that is. In this case, they're groping the elephant. Guess maybe it's a good thing one didn't go between the legs. We'll leave that one alone. Anyway, this whole thing with the Khazarian mafia and related to Israel and the whole bloody fucking bit, it's a mess. It is an absolute mess, and that is the only nice way that I can sum that one up. And that is the easiest way that I can sum it up. I don't know. I really honestly don't know what to believe at this point in time. I have to put faith in that the right people in the right positions are doing the right thing to take out the wrong people or the bad people. That's all I got. That's it. Like, there's fucking nothing else in my tank.
Sorry, V, how much of that did you get?
I got all of it pretty much. Well, except for the fact that he says nothing in his tank. I think there's a little bit of sugar in his tank. But that's just me.
Are you sure there's no sugar?
Okay, all right, because yeah, it broke. The connection actually almost dropped here for a second, and then it came back. So yeah,
I hear you clearly. I hear you clearly. I don't know how that works.
This will be interesting to see how it all works out, because V and I have had no problems. Maybe I'll have to start this over again, and then maybe that's what we'll do. We'll end this right now. I don't have any much more to say anyway. I will start up the recording so that way we've got something more stable, and then you, my friend, will keep track of
Well, actually, it never stopped. Recording. It never stopped recording. It just the connection again. I'm going to have to figure out. I'm either going to get some type of a signal booster for my laptop.
You'll have
I'm going to have to figure out a more.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, what I could possibly do is I could walk over to the other TV room and see if there's somebody in there. The only problem is that, again, right, somebody could be just walking in there and deciding to watch MMA. Like, what's going on is somebody came in because there was an MMA fight going on, and he absolutely wanted to see it. And it was like, so he came into the non-smoking TV room. And he's gonna be there for a while, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to have this phone conversation with somebody, with the coworker listening in, right? Because I mean, he's interrupting me, and I'm interrupting him. Let me just take a quick look here.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Let me just take a look. Yeah. Let me just hold on.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yep. There's somebody in the other TV room as well, so I'm gonna have to go back to my tents. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just gonna have to make do with this for today. This is the reason why. So I'm gonna have to get some type of a signal booster for my laptop here, because this is somebody could actually make a timestamp of this particular event and put it in. That way, I'll know where it comes to doing the edit. Because we're gonna have this is going to be an issue almost continuously for a while, because I have zero intention of leaving this gig. Right, so I'm going to have to figure out something around the net or whatever, or we're just going to have to be dealing with weaker loss signal or people walking in unexpectedly. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's get on with the next topic here. Okay. The next topic. All right. This one actually has some interesting, because I mean, I'm seeing this happen everywhere where you're starting to see democratic republics or democracies just simply choose. So yeah, the U.S. courts, for instance, so for the courts to have any enforcement authority, they have to go through the Justice Departments. Biden controls the Justice Department, so Biden isn't going to lift a finger to stop the to enforce this law. So I mean, the judiciary is pretty much handcuffed without the support of either the executive or the legislative. And as a result, they're pretty much able to get away with it. But here's the thing, right? If people start ignoring the courts on everything, right? And there's another topic that we were going to discuss earlier where it's like, the governor of New Mexico did the exact same thing, right? She just completely decided it's going to be topic number 4 here. It's like she just chose to, she lost the court decision. So she just arrogantly came back and amended it. And it's like, it's at the point now where even local most law enforcement is saying she has direct control over the state police, and even various state police departments are saying that they weren't going to enforce this legislation because she basically changed the rules, which we'll get into on topic number 4, right? So it's like the courts will have to get some more authority. And Netanyahu, who's not a particularly nice individual at all, he's a megalomaniac. We can all be very thankful that he's not the one running the WEF, because I think he'd be even worse than Soros. I don't even think Soros is the one running the WEF at this point. But the whole situation is basically the Israeli Knesset, and I'm absolutely stunned that this is even up for debate with them. It's it's like no, we're not going to give you more power. Right? Look at what you did during COVID, right? And you think, the reason why you kept getting overruled is because you just had to have your way, and you were overruling us in the first place. So there's been huge protests in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and whatever over this particular situation. And, there's a huge debate going on, of course, because believe it or not, there are actually court judges that support Netanyahu in the Supreme Court, right? And it's like, if you start you kind of knew this was going to happen because, for one, if you recall, one of the courts overruled Biden when he applied that rule saying that all employers over 100 people have to have mandatory vaccinations and so on and so forth. And he was using OSHA he's going to use OSHA to enforce it. And then not the Supreme Court, but the next level down overruled it, and it got dropped, right? What's to stop Biden from not abiding by the court decision? And of course, they're going to say, what's to stop Trump from not doing it? Yes, that's a fact as well. But the bottom line is that, the idea with the courts is that it's supposed to function as another form of government. So if the government or the executive or the legislative overstep their authority, you have the Supreme Court there to who are knowledgeable about law and have the ability to say, no, you can't do that. That's against the law and it's unconstitutional. And if the courts make that decision, then you have to abide by it. I mean, don't get, again, like the courts, like, I mean, the Supreme Court has made some really bad decisions over the years. Like they support, like Amistad, which I don't think either of you have seen. Hold on a second. I got a cough here. Amistad, the Supreme Court's ruled that that particular individual was a slave and he could not be released and whatever, and I believe he ended up getting executed over that, right? So the Supreme Court is not always just and fair, but I mean, completely ignoring the courts, which is a trend that is starting to take place because, of course, right? I mean, you're seeing Western governments impose all of these draconian rules is a very bad trend. And I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, what Trump, if Trump wins, and I suspect that he will win, like he's going to have to, well, first of all, they're going to have to prove that Harvard, Duke, and some of these other universities continued on with their racist hiring policies. If they have continued to do it, then what they have to do is they have to send in the FBI or the Justice Department, and they have to basically go in, arrest these people, and perp walk them to send the message to everybody else. That's not going to happen under Biden. And again, right, ignoring, be it Israel, Canada, the United States, or wherever else this is going on, like the fact that people are ignoring Supreme Court rulings or wanting to strip power away from their Supreme Courts because the people in power can't get their way is a rather disturbing trend. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, you really think I haven't seen Amistad? All right, well, yeah, no, I listen. If every government, we can sit here and complain, we can sit here and throw stones. I would like to see what they're doing. If it ends up working out better for them, then that's something that we might want to try, or maybe Canadians might want to try, or just the opposite. See it screw them up, then we need to make sure that we don't fall down the same path. I think it's just one of those things that I mean, we know we are so very familiar with corruption and what it looks like, but yet and still you have corruption and that can pull in one spot more than another. So government is always a balancing act between those who are corrupt and those who are not, and then trying to make it all look good in front of the people. So past what I just said, I've got no further opinion on it. I've got no dog in that race per se, but it's something that I would like to see how it turns out. Then I'll pass it on to Urson.
I remember in Canadian politics going back somewhere 2007, 2008-ish era, which was when Stephen Harper was running the country, and how autocratic and intolerable he was. Just because my former MP at the time, Garth Turner, got kicked out because he was more interested in representing the people than he was of towing the party line. So Harper gave him the boot, and he switched over to the feckless non-cunt. Although I guess he almost really was a cunt. Stéphane Dion, that was just a fucking disaster chapter for the Liberals at that point in time as well. That was either before or after fucking Ignatieff was Liberal Party leader. I think
That was before. Because
That was-
I got some. I'll register some opinions on Ignatieff when you're done.
well, besides Ignatieff being a Soros stooge.
Well, I mean, I knew some guys who were in the military that had to deal with him. They thought it was a complete. He was a Harvard-educated elitist. I mean, his office in his area,
Yeah.
like he only went there apparently once in the whole time he was the MP.
I'm not surprised by
And
that.
he showed up in a limo. When he showed up in a limo, he was there for about like 15, 20 minutes and he left. It was like he basically, like they were there to serve him, period. Like he was a complete, total elitist, which probably explains why he used the Soros stooge. Continue, Steve.
Well, I mean, I know that at some point he was working for Soros as in one of the universities or something like that. I can't remember what it was, somewhere in Europe. And God. And Harper fucking nailed on him as well too. It's just like Steve, Michael Ignatieff, part-time at best only sort of thing. I'm only here for the paycheck sort of thing. But there was talk at the time that Harper wanted to abolish the Senate, and I've got mixed feelings about that. Now, unlike the American Senate, I'm more of the opinion that the Canadian Senate is relatively useless, but it's a backstop against Parliament, or shall we say Congress, to use the term for Americans here, if you included, nothing personal, my friend, that if you take out the Senate, and the difference with how Canada's run versus America is that the president in the Canadian system is part of the Congress rather than being a separate step outside. It's one of the three legislative branches. So you've got the executive office running in with your legislative branch, which is Congress. I didn't like the idea at the time. This is when I hated Harper with a passion. Couldn't stand the man. But, well, now I can start to see how problems would be with the Senate if the Senate was to have been abolished. And in essence, you'll have two and a half offices, or 2.5 executive divisions fighting for itself, which is Parliament / and the half being the Prime Minister's office. Would be at constant loggerheads with the Supreme Court, and when you corrupt the Supreme Court, not that it already isn't in most countries, but when you corrupt the Supreme Court and everything is all in one place, and, well, he who has the gold makes the rules sort of thing, that is going to be very problematic. And once you go down that slippery slope, unless you can somehow restore the separation of, shall we say, the three branches of government, and that they're all held accountable to each other, it may take a couple of decades, but at some point with someone like Netanyahu, or let's say that Putin is really all that more innocent, but but someone like Harper in extreme case, or Trudeau for that fucking matter, it will not bode well for any country. Doesn't matter if we're talking Canada, the US, or Spain's history of corruption and authoritarianism and totalitarianism. They have enough of a record unto themselves, so I don't know what else to say to that one. What's going to happen, or how that's going to come out, or how that's going to be turned about, I have no idea. But I think the only solution for Israel, they would have to look at adopting, like the American model, which would be to have a separate, somewhat independent legislative body, Senate, to hopefully be able to push shit back to basically say, no. So there has to be opposition from something like a senatorial body for Israel to be relatively governable. So I don't know whether it works or not. I'm doubtful. Well, at this point in time, I don't think it will work, but maybe at some point that will be brought in. Who knows? And on that note, back to you.
Yeah, Netanyahu's getting massive pushback for this. Again, right? This is the same thing that happened with the Roman Empire. Power became more and more centralized, and eventually it just became the emperor, and the emperor could just bail. The emperor was just completely when the empire really started to collapse. The emperor wasn't even bothering. Basically, the Senate was just there almost just for show, for the most part, and that's when things really. I mean. Yeah, it makes the way it's designed is that the powers that need quick decision making are put in the hands of the president. Obviously, if you want to declare war, that has to be that obviously has to go through the House and the Senate. But I mean, it's like, yeah, you can't just like, I mean, like, I'm suspicious of any group or individuals, and Netanyahu, I can't. He's been around since Clinton, believe it or not, and it's like he just does not seem to want to go away. He's a bit of a hawk. Well, I mean, he was always a bit of a hawk, but I mean, it's like he hasn't. Netanyahu's out for Netanyahu, and there was that assassination of that former Israeli prime minister. It wouldn't surprise me if he was connected to that in some way, because he seems to be like. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to my original point with Israel. Israel was one of the biggest. Like, they towed the line on the vaccine restrictions. Like, absolutely towed the line. Like, I mean, I believe in Israel. Although I might be wrong on this, believe in Israel. If you didn't get the vaccines, you actually risked jail time. So, yeah. So,
the irony of Nazi Germany. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, while again, if we're going to start getting into that, and we really haven't got the time to start, the issue that Hitler was convinced that every single Jew everywhere was in on it, and that is just simply not the case. Now, again, we want to start getting into the whole globalism thing. Does that mean that the Jews are completely innocent? Of course not. They definitely played a part in both the origin of both feminism and communism. There were Jews in there. That doesn't mean they were the only ones in there, right? The way it kind of worked culturally in the U.S. is that Edison basically ran all the Jews out of New York, and so they all moved to L.A., and that's the reason why L.A. ended up having a film industry, because a lot of the Jewish filmmakers moved out to the opposite side of the country, where Edison didn't have nearly as much influence, and they started the studios out in L.A. Otherwise, you'd have both them. Yeah, that's the reason Thomas Edison drove basically all the Jewish filmmakers out of New York. That's the reason why the film industry is not based out of New York.
New every day. I'm sorry, but it's very rare for someone to shock you with something that I don't know. That's wow. I'm sorry, you knocked me on my ass.
Yeah, no, that that's the reason why that's the reason why Hollywood is controlled. Is there's so many Jews in Hollywood is because basically Edison drove all the Jewish filmmakers out of New York, which is why you have Hollywood, because they all fled out to L.A. and they started their studios in L.A. And that's the reason why you have so many. That's why you have so many people of Jewish origin in the media now, is because they literally built the film industry up in LA from the ground up. Was basically it was a fundamental. Well, there were other people obviously, but there was a huge Jewish. There was a lot of Jewish money put into Hollywood because they couldn't do it in New York. Right, that's the reason why there's it's not.
They retire though. They retire and they all end up in Florida. Why are they in Florida? I'm sorry. Just go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, we're kind of getting off topic here, but yeah, because I mean somebody actually did a documentary on that. Like, why are there so many Jews? Why is there such a big? It was done by a Jewish person. Like, why are there so many Jews in Hollywood? And it's like, well, this is the reason, right? And it was like, oh, I didn't know that. And it's sort of like, well, again, so it wasn't a conspiracy thing. That's literally what happened. That's why Hollywood ended up being out in California and not in New York. Anyway, let's get on with the next topic here. I am going to just timestamp this so that I don't lose my spot. And we are going to get on to topic number 3, because we are on a separate chat now, so I have to access the look at this, and YouTube brings in more censorship around medical misinformation. Yes, just in time for the elections. Now, next week we're actually going to be talking about how Trudeau and Theresa Tam are trying to sneak in bring back in the mask mandates, which won't really affect me when I'm living at home in Alberta, but I'm not in Alberta right now. I'm in Nunavut. The situation with this particular situation is that, and we're going to have to put on the tinfoil hats, proudly brought to you, by the way, by Tinfoil Hats Are Us. Don't remember, all styles, all sizes. We even do the family pet, Tinfoil Hats Are Us. Just remember, when you call in, to type in the words and scream really loud, "They're not going to get me!" in order to get 10% off your first order. The situation with this is that it's twofold. One, and this is something that has been kind of flying under the radar, but it has happened, is that Pfizer has come up with a new vaccine, right? New vaccine, new virus. The other part is that, so they want, because they of course they've got advertising on YouTube or whatever. YouTube is playing ball and trying to get ahead of the quote unquote medical misinformation on YouTube, ahead of the attempted new vaccine regime that they are so desperately. Although I have noticed that because so many people are onto them this time, I've noticed that they're kind of backing away from it now, because it's been a while, and they're pushing it, but they're not pushing it very hard because they know that they're getting a lot of opposition. But YouTube did its part. So if you try to criticize the new vaccine or engage in any type of criticism of said vaccine or the potential new forced vaccination program, which they probably would have attempted to roll out if they had been given the chance, that YouTube would have been a step ahead. The only issue is, of course, is that once again, and this is also the situation that's occurring with Russell Brand, who we will be covering next week, is that the censorship doesn't work nearly as well anymore, right? You know, Twitter did not take down. I mean, Twitter's not going to play ball. Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute are definitely not going to play ball. So if all you've got is YouTube and Facebook, well, both of those platforms have got their issues. One, YouTube and Google in general seem fully intent on slowly committing suicide, death by 1,000 cuts. And they're slowly, YouTube is just slowly becoming, I'm finding that as I go along, I'm going over to Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute more and more frequently to watch stuff. Because, one of the big reasons is like when I'm on my phone, for instance, I don't have ad blocker on my phone. So I got to watch the ads. And some of the YouTube ads, and this is no word of a lie, at one point there was a 30-minute YouTube ad between things. And I'm like, no, I'm not listening to an ad for 30 minutes or 12 minutes. Like, it ain't happening. Like, it's just not going to happen. And
can I ask you what really quick? Can I ask you what you're doing whenever that happens? Like, what are you physically doing?
Well, when I'm on my computer, I have YouTube ad blocker, right? So I don't have to worry about the ads, right?
I understand that, but when this happens on your phone, what activities are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, usually the only time that I got.
Uh-oh, got cut out.
Can I get the what? Okay, hold on. Okay, I can get the quartering and I can get the quartering anywhere, but to stuff like Timcast or Redacted or something like that. Like Redacted is on Rumble. But you can't get. There's just certain platform creators that just have not gone over to Rumble or Odyssey or BitChute. Rumble is slowly getting bigger, right? But same thing. Same thing with search engines. Google still has 93%. The 93% of the people out there still use Google as their primary engine source, right? Now, I switched over to DuckDuckGo, and I am slowly but surely moving over to Brave, right? But there's still certain content on YouTube that is not available anywhere else, right? Like, people don't post up like how to tech. A lot of people don't post up how to tech videos on Rumble, Odyssey, or BitChute yet. They'll eventually get around to it, but they're not doing it yet, right? So, I would like to go completely YouTube free. Oh, and here's the other thing about YouTube as well. MGTOW TV is the only platform that will actually allow you to upload video content from BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble and YouTube. But when I try to upload from those sites, I always have difficulty, but I don't have any difficulty with YouTube. Same thing with Odyssey and Rumble, right? I can't upload from, say, Odyssey or BitChute over to Rumble. So, yeah, eventually the YouTube and Google monopoly is going to get broken, is going to break down. But for now, whether I want to or not, I still have to use YouTube, right? Because YouTube, like if I want to watch a paleo documentary, if I want to watch a history documentary or something like that, or true crime or whatever, like all of that stuff just isn't available on Odyssey, Rumble, and BitChute unless I choose, and I will do that sometimes. I will actually like mirror content from YouTube onto those sites just so that I don't have to watch it on YouTube, but I don't feel like doing that all the time, right? So yeah, this is in the other part on this is that I have to suspect that YouTube is doing this to try, and again, like they are going to try to do the mail-in ballots like they in 2024, like they did in 2020. So, you know, part of that they're going to put in any comment, any attacks on attempts to bring in the mail-in ballots. They're also going to file that under medical misinformation because, oh, well, people are too sick to come in and vote, or it's too hazardous to their health. Therefore, we have to have the drop-off ballots. Drop-off boxes. The only thing is, though, is again, like even with the drop-off boxes, I mean, they're probably going, like the Republicans this time, and probably the independents as well, are going to have people around the clock at those boxes this time around. So you're not going to be able to pull a 2,000 mules type of scenario again. And with it, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Okay, yeah. So, well, I was asking, you know, what you're doing when those ads pop up. I know before I got ad blocked on all my devices and all my browsers, I noticed. Let's say I'm on the couch, I'm falling asleep, or I just passed out. YouTube knows. I mean, YouTube does so much spying. I mean, let me back up. Even further. YouTube does so much spying that I could be having an argument with my little woman, and then I open up YouTube, and there's a video on just about everything that I talked about. That it's suggesting me. So I think it knows when a device is actually not being used or there's some downtime, because I can put something on that I want to hear while I'm cooking dinner, for example. And it seems like as soon as I get started and my video ends or there's a break, there's a 12-minute ad. Or when I'm on the couch falling asleep, there's a 22-minute to 30-minute ad. They know that if I'm not able to get to my device quick enough to hit the skip, that's free ad time because they get money. The longer those things play, the more money they get. So that means spying on you so that they can make money off of you from your unattended device playing, which I think is sick. So yeah, I had to.
Oh, I get what you're saying. What were you doing? Yeah. Well, the 12-minute ad came up because the TV room, which is where we were doing the first couple of episodes of this topics of this. You can get YouTube on the TV there, and I was watching. What I would do is, because I'll just admit it. I mean, we get the night shift. We get done early. I was talking about this with Rearson before the show, and it was like saying, well, you know what? I usually get done about 2:30 in the morning, and I have to stay at work till 6. But I mean, we've got a lot of downtime. We might be able to do this at 2:30 in the morning. That was one of the options we discovered, and then I discovered the fact that I'm not getting booted off the internet on this laptop anymore, so that solved that problem. The issue is that the TV. Actually, now that you think about it, right? That was true, because I had the TV. What I had was I was playing my music videos in the background while I was doing the posting run, and that's when the 12 and the 8-minute videos came up. And keep in mind, I wasn't on my account, but now that you mention it, yeah, I did notice that, right? Because when I'm actually like again when I'm on, like for instance when I'm in the coffee shop and I put my earbuds in and I'm listening to music on the phone when I'm in the coffee shop, right? Listening to music there. The ads don't go that long. So yeah, you actually do have a point. And we're going to turn it over to Rearson here because we do have to keep this moving. The more we cover here, the better. So Rearson, take it away.
Well, I mean, as Kelso has said so many times before, brought to you by Pfizer, because everything is brought to you by Pfizer. And fucking censorship, I can pretty much guarantee you, is brought to you by Pfizer. Again, there's an interview of Barroso or whatever the fuck, Barolo. I don't remember can't remember the gentleman's name to save my fucking life. But his neck is fucking pulsating. I mean, no normal person has a pulsating fucking neck like a goddamn fucking toad or a frog. So you have to pardon me for having the tinfoil hat on here, but no. Everything about this is just wrong. And I mean everything. I want to say that I'm surprised, because I'm not. But when I've gone to a superstore where I normally shop, excuse me, I'm noticing that staff are putting the fucking masks on again. And you have no how much it is. I have enough common sense to realize that they're not going to listen to me anyway. So it's one of those, you know what? I'll just let you live in the fucking fear of porn, because you obviously love being afraid to be told what to think, because you can't think your way. Just like Mark Hamill or fucking, for the most part, Nicolas Cage.
Rob Reiner?
No.
Nicolas Cage, yeah.
Nicolas Cage, Mark Hamill, real live action. They can't act away out of wet paper bag made out of onion paper if you fucking push them through it. They just fail. So
you're talking about my Nick Cage. God save your soul.
I'm not talking about the comic book character.
Did you not see Dracula? He was great in that. The new Dracula movie.
Oh, Reinfeld or something like that.
Renfield,
yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I
haven't. It was only in theaters for like a week or two, and then it was gone. Right? Yeah. It was like, oh, come on, man! Like it couldn't have been that bad.
It was the best role. He was natural. He was so natural. It was best role. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and fair enough. I mean, that's really about the only thing that I think I wanted to see the movie. By the time I remembered to look into it, it's fucking gone. Poof, disappeared, just like fucking vampires and fucking sunlight. Gone. Boom. Anyway, talking with our mutual friend Naroki, and we did go into the whole thing about pushing masks and the vaccine mandates and whatnot. And he said a lot of people are really pissed off at this point, and if the government's going to push on it, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to basically tell the government to go get stuffed. And I know it's going to happen now, because I remember this conversation I had with my fucking doctor, and she was saying, "Oh, it's only for about 2 weeks." I said, "Uh-huh. All right, sure, whatever." This and that, the other thing. So I don't trust a woman to save my life. I mean, she's great, but she gives out enough fucking free pharmaceuticals. So I'm pretty sure that her husband is doing whatever Pfizer and company will tell them what to do or what to say or what to push. Now, given that a lot of the problems that we have in the world right now seem to be all based on petroleum byproducts, which are not conducive and are not healthy for any living being, for that matter, unless it's somehow genetically engineered. My opinion, again, take that however you will. With the censorship of everything else that's going on, I'm kind of yawning at, so I was like, oh, oh, they're attempting it now. I was kind of expecting it to happen kind of like last year sort of shit. So, again, if you can look back and see what happened the first time, this is really not all that surprising. And again, to pay off a doctor will cost about as much as it is to pay off a scientist, as it will pay off an engineer or a politician. Politicians might be a little bit more expensive, but by and large, when you've got, in theory, when you've got billions at your disposal, then you can pay off enough trusted individuals in positions of authority and knowledge, not necessarily like doctors, then yeah, people are going to listen. Overall, are going to listen. I just wasn't part of that crowd. And I know V wasn't, and I know Naroki wasn't. So, among others on our within our little circle, shall we say. So, but people like my uncle, and he suddenly developed cancer, and I know that he was vaccinated because he kept his certificate of vaccination or proof of vaccination on his laptop before I fucking wiped off that hard drive. So, but I'm not going to bring that up as a topic of a conversation with his two kids because I don't think they're going to listen to me anyway. So, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, brought to you by Pfizer because everything is brought to you by Pfizer. And back to you, Naroki, who's not brought to you by Pfizer. Naroki 5. Pfizer free.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so let's get on with the next topic here, which is.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No. But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message.
Let me be clear. I hold my standards high, and I do not, or never will, hedge on what is right. And I take my oath seriously. In reference to concealed carry and open carry, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office will not enforce this segment of the order. While I understand the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundations of our Constitution, but most importantly, it is unconstitutional. My oath was to protect the Constitution, and that is what I will do. The governor made it clear in her press conference. She knew we as law enforcement did not agree with the order, and as a result, this was solely her decision. Other than this ban being unconstitutional, here are other reasons why I will not enforce the order. One, what many forget, is I have enough violence here in Bernalillo County. I do not want to have political violence towards my deputies or here in Bernalillo County. My job is to keep the peace and to make sure that the citizens of Bernalillo County are safe, and I do not believe that this order will help me do so. I'm a law enforcement professional. This order will not do anything to curb gun violence other than punish law-abiding citizens from their constitutional right to self-defense. Let me give you a personal story. Last week, as I'm sitting here as the sitting sheriff, I get a phone call that my brother also was a victim of gun violence last week that many of you do not know. While he and my nephew were sitting in their car, they were shot at and their vehicle was impacted by numerous rounds. How can I, as a sheriff, tell him to put his firearms away and not be able to protect himself? I have a fact for you. Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Never seen it, we will never see criminals follow the law. Once again, this only punishes law-abiding citizens. What I also want to address is what we're doing on the gun violence here in Bernalillo County and helping in the state of New Mexico. It is quite irritating for me to see how this 30-day ban completely overshadowed the robust conversations that we had with the governor in the office on what we are going to do to curb gun violence and for people to stop being victims. We had arguments, but again, we had solutions. We had an 11-year-old that was senselessly killed, but there are also many other numerous victims of gun violence, not just here in Bernalillo County, but our nation. A couple of things that I will be asking to do as we get serious. I will take your questions, but let me tell you what we're going to do, because we do need to not overshadow what we need to do to keep our citizens safe. I will be asking the Crime Reduction Director for our agency, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, to lead a task force of various law enforcement agencies to focus on crimes with firearms. I will have continued meetings for early intervention of not only adult, but youth offenders. I am respectfully requesting, as an elected official, to please consider a special session to specifically address crime, not just in Bernalillo County, but for the state of New Mexico. We need to look at solutions to address violent crimes involving juveniles with firearms, adults with firearms, pretrial release, harsh state penalties for violent crimes, which also involve a firearm. Collaboration and planning will and continue with the Mayor of Albuquerque, Tim Keller, Chief of New Mexico State Police, Troy Weisler, Chief of the Albuquerque Police Department, Harold Medina, and District Attorney, Sam Bregman. I will also be
So the next topic is, the New Mexico governor. Okay, well, this one is an extra special one, mostly because, the New Mexico governor, and this should come as no surprise, is that would be Michelle Lujan Grisham, is a Soros bought and paid for puppet. So what happened basically in the city of Albuquerque is that there was a series of shootings, and again, no surprise, blue city, blue state, although it's not as, the flyover states for the most part are not as like, for instance, you can still more or less walk around most parts of downtown Edmonton and Calgary and not have to worry too much about stuff like that. But but Vancouver, for instance, Hastings Street, which when I was going to film school there, Hastings Street still had stores on all of its corners. Now, those scenes you see where you see like blocks and blocks of tent cities and whatever, Hastings Street has turned into that. There's about a hold on. There's a 2-block section of Vancouver where it's like there's literally no stores. And why are there no stores? Because it's basically, it's a tent city, except that tent city is right on Hastings Street. And that's a situation that is going on there. What ended up happening is that Albuquerque had a long series, and yes, that's the helicopter going by, just in case you needed to know. Instead of ambulances, now we have helicopters. There's a spike, and this does happen every once in a while. There's a gang fighting or whatever, and there was a spike in shootings in the city of Albuquerque. What Michelle Lujan Grisham did is she basically issued a temporary ban, a quote-unquote emergency temporary ban on firearms. Her excuse is, it's an emergency, therefore I can suspend the Constitution and do this. Multiple law enforcement departments immediately said they had no intention, including, I believe, the Albuquerque police said they had absolutely no intention of enforcing it. It got immediately challenged in the courts. She didn't back down. And of course, they lost the court case. less than 24 hours after the ruling came out, she reissued the gun ban, except for parks, playgrounds, malls, etc., etc. And of course, it's going through the courts again. Here's the thing, right? It is probably Soros stooges that gave her the and they're doing this as a try, and what they're doing in New Mexico is a trial balloon, right? They're trying to see how far they can try and push a gun ban, whether it's going to work in the U.S., whether it's not going to work in the U.S., how are they going to work it? So yeah, they gave the idea, well, just issue a temporary gun ban, right, and see how it works, right? And if they don't, then just do it again, but reissue it. And again, right, same thing happened. Law enforcement departments were like saying no, right? It's like, well, it's not a good idea to have guns in a playground, right? It's like, it's like we're not going to stop every person that's going through a playground or a park or a state park or whatever. We're not going to frisk them for firearms. Like, we're not going to enforce this. So basically, the only people who are actually enforcing the second gun ban are effectively the only law enforcement that she can control are the state police. And even some of the state police have gone on record of saying, and no, we're not going to do this, right? We're just not going to do this. Like, we're not going to spend time walking around playgrounds and public parks and places like that, checking to see if anybody's carrying a firearm or not. Like, we're not going to do it. So this is not going over very well. She is not answering, to my knowledge, she is not answering questions about it. And it's like, this looks very much like they're attempting to do what's called a trial balloon to see whether this is going to fly or not. I have an eerie, because, yeah, technically New Mexico is a blue state, but it's a blue state in primarily a red and purple area, as in most of the states except for Colorado and Arizona. Oh, actually, the only other blue state in the immediate area is Colorado. All of the other, like Arizona is purple, Nevada is purple, Texas is red, Oklahoma is red. Oklahoma is deep red. So all of the other states in the immediate vicinity. Oh, and Wyoming is also definitely a red state. So, I mean, New Mexico would fall under the category of purple state. So, I don't think this is going to go over very well. Yeah, they might be able to control the political apparatus in, say, in the larger cities in New Mexico. But I mean, also, incidentally, this has to be pointed out about New Mexico. New Mexico is a border state, right? You will notice that you never hear even though New Mexico is having the same problems on its border that Texas is, you don't hear a peep out of New Mexico about it. That's the reason why, because this governor is probably knowingly looking the other way. Well, immigrants just basically flock across your border. Again, trial balloon. Is she going to get reelected? Maybe. New Mexico is a blue state, but it's got a very strong red state presence, so you really don't know for sure. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, so it's really silly because there's all this divide and conquer, right? We the people should actually take advantage of the whole divide and conquer. They want to have us wear masks, and half of us will do it just because, and the other half won't just because. And it creates that divide. They use the half that'll do it to pressure the other half that won't. And, having us all divided and all cramped up together, that's just how they control us. That's how they stay in power. The fact that we have red states and blue states, it should really just be that. If we were actually allowed to be blue states and red states and not purple, if we were actually allowed to truly be red states and blue states, well, we could actually see what policies work and what policies don't. Now, don't we? It's kind of already backfiring in the faces because, okay, for example, the blue states, oh, they're the ones having the most gun issues, school shootings, mass shootings, right? Red states, not so many. And for the ones that would be popping off, a lot of them get stopped by another citizen, an armed Samaritan who will go and pop a cap in your ass if you try to pull that crap. That doesn't get talked about in the news, though. So I like the fact that we have a chance. We have a chance to call these people on their crap. And that's just what we need to do. Just be defiant, civil disobedience. And once their plans don't go through, tell them to kick rocks. And go ahead, Veerson.
The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. I mean, that's basically the last part of Second Amendment, correct? Basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, that's true.
All right. So someone on her high holy fucking horse with a dildo rammed right up her, rammed right up her ass, going up her spine, tingling in her brain somewhere, is thinking that this is going to work. And Rook, I know that you've said this before, and yeah, it will work for a while, and it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with the likely tension between the state troopers and pretty much everybody else. I know that there was some level of disobedience. We were talking about the trucker convoy going from BC out to Ottawa, and the OPP, the equivalent of the provincial state troopers, basically said, no, we're not going to stop them from coming in, and we're not going to stop people from coming into the province either. So, I mean, that put egg on Doug Ford's face at the time, and I don't think he made any attempts after that to really do anything else, because he's already been stood up once, and if he did it, and if the police are going to do it once, they'll do it again. No, city police or regional, that can be a different story, which is obviously not the case here. So, well, when this is all over, however the chips are gonna fall, I can pretty much guarantee you that a certain governor will not be re-electable because no one's gonna want her. And really all that needs to be done at this point is that her failure just has to be kind of on an epic level or proportion. And going forward, no one is going to want to listen to her or will take her seriously. So it's kind of like what I remember hearing Huey Lewis with his band The News, and he basically said, guys, we've only got one shot at this. And they did quite well. And that's what this governor has as well, too. She's only got one shot. But I think that this one's going to be a dud, and it's going to be a blank. So I'm not really that worried about it, because all it will take is enough people to push back and basically just say, hell no, I won't go and, go get stuffed. So I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that. And that, my friend, I think is about all that we can afford to do for time here for you, because you got work to do.
Okay, we are back for the third part of Red Pill Nation Hangout number 331. I hope everybody, I hope we all enjoyed the days off. V does not appear to be present at the moment. Maybe he will jump in. We may decide to jump straight into 332 tonight. It depends, because I mean, we've covered 7 topics before, but I mean, I would have to stop and restart. So we'll just see how long this particular run goes before we decide to jump immediately into 332. I have some interesting news. I have now got a Kick and a Twitch, and I restarted my Twitch account. I might just start experimenting with doing kind of like a little mini live stream where I will go on for like anywhere from like 10 to like 25, 30 minutes and just talk my face off about a topic that I ran into that particular day. Mostly going to be manosphere stuff, but we'll see. But anyway, so let's just get right back into this here. Let me. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did the other edit on the other when I added the other channel. So let me just edit this. So this next topic is kind of interesting. It involves Pornhub. Now, Pornhub has been targeted with a lot of stuff because it is in anything that involves sexuality is going to be kind of like a loaded issue. There's a lot of mental and emotional issues tied into sex and sexuality. And because of that, you're going to get some very strong reactions. In fact, there was an individual, I'm not going to name the individual, there was an individual right now who is engaged in the NoFap community. I personally, and he was like, oh, well, you don't do OnlyFans, but you peruse porn. Well, it's like, yeah, well, dude, well, first of all, man, you know, well, I'd look at porn, I pull one out in the morning and that's it, right? Like, it's not like I spend 8 hours a day perusing porn or have a porn addiction. I have a porn collection, but I don't have a porn addiction, right? Because, I mean, if you looked at my room, at my apartment, there's like 1,400 DVDs. You could argue that I have a DVD addiction, but then again, almost every guy I know, like there's a guy I work with who's got like 250 hockey jerseys. So, you know, that guy has if you wanted to get technical, that guy has a hockey jersey addiction. So, because it's going to sound really, really strange, but Pornhub and the porn video streaming sites, when you actually start doing some looking on there, you will actually find some rather interesting stuff. Of course, you'll find a lot of adult content. That just goes without saying. The thing is, though, is that, I mean, you know, you also get gaming content. You also get stuff that you wouldn't think would be on Pornhub. I have also been told that some people use Pornhub because people are looking for porn. They're not necessarily looking for people having personal face-to-face conversations. So yeah, or posting up content in a place that they didn't expect it to be. So yeah, am I surprised that Pornhub, which has kind of taken a wild, wild west mentality when it comes to their site, has been kind of looking the other way on the on the kiddie porn? This is the second time that this has been brought up with them. Now, this employee was caught openly admitting it, and then as soon as he was revealed that he was delivering this to an undercover person,
he immediately ghosted himself. Pornhub has been uniquely quiet about this. Pornhub, by the way, I can't remember what the name of the parent company is, but Pornhub is actually owned by a company based out of Montreal, which kind of explains like the big porn convention in Canada is actually held in Montreal. Don't know when it's held. I just know that there is a porn convention in Montreal. The issue here, though, is, looking the other way on this. I mean, you got to understand. I mean, YouTube was notorious. In fact, both YouTube and Twitter, specifically under Yul Roth, were infamous for looking the other way on child porn. We've also covered Mastodon, and the number of pedophiles that are actually on that site. This is not to excuse Pornhub's decision to look the other way on it. But I can tell you the difference between, say, Pornhub and Mastodon and what YouTube, or specifically what Twitter was doing under the old regime. The difference is that Pornhub doesn't have, because they're porn, a lot of people aren't, and this is something that got pointed out by TJ Kirk, the amazing atheist, when they got nailed for something a few years earlier. Nobody is going to immediately rush out and defend Pornhub. Reason being is that if they're caught defending Pornhub, that opens them up. That opens up a whole can of worms that a lot of people don't want to go down. For instance, if I were to do it, and I mean, I'm not really particularly interested in defending Pornhub, but the whole situation here is that, I mean, if, because of how sexuality is such a loaded issue in the society, Pornhub and pornographers in the whole porn industry makes for a very convenient target. Like, for instance, in the manosphere, you will see men in the manosphere, red pill, MGTOW, whatever, go rail off against porn rather frequently. Now, there is a link between the two. Now, the mainstream porn production sites are usually they have to be really careful about dotting the I's and crossing the T's, because if they don't dot the I's and cross the T's, somebody is going, because they make for very convenient moral targets from both the right and the left for different reasons. And as a net, and of course, since you're talking about the topic of sexuality and so on and so forth, I mean, that is a very, well, let's just say it's a very awkward, dicey topic that not a lot of people are comfortable talking about, or even, hold on a second, dealing with. The other issue, and this is something that I can't tell you from direct personal experience, pedophiles and that community and the people that are involved in it, I have noticed that the individuals who are involved in the ones that I have encountered, which are not very many, by the way, they tend to have rather toxic, caustic personalities when confronted on the issue. And given what has happened, for instance, with what happened around Sound of Freedom and how they will hypocritically talk it, for instance, in Britain, the Online Safety Act, which it will be specifically looking for quote unquote misinformation, but likely won't lift so much as a finger to do anything about child porn or any child exploitation or anything like that. Or the fact that the guy who was the inspiration for the movie Sound of Freedom ended up getting accused of, well, I mean, not accused of being a pedophile, but basically being accused of being a sexual creep with some of the, it came up by Vice, by the way, that of basically being creepy with the female employees in his organization. The you know, like, this is a very, and also, yeah, what's happening with Russell Brand. I mean, this is an easy topic to exploit. And I'm being also point out the desperate attempts by anti-MGTOWs to try to equate MGTOW to incel, which just does not work. Look, and I'm not going to get into any of that, but I mean, the whole situation here is that you know, am I surprised that Pornhub and the company that runs Pornhub, am I surprised that they look the other way? No. Am I surprised that people who are engaged in child exploitation and making kiddie porn, etc., are using these sites to disguise their content? No, I'm not. You know, that industry is low based upon the encounters that I've had with some of the people in that industry and some of the people and some of the few pedophiles that I've run into. I mean, they're not, you know, it would be easy to equate somebody with the porn industry as a pedophile, because it's just like MGTOW and incel, right? You know, they both are strategies, like, they're both dealing with sexuality, except one is legal and one isn't, and that is the fine distinction. But again, right, there are people, and I've noticed this more on the right than on the left, that cannot or will not make that distinction. Now, should Pornhub have been maybe been more vigilant? Absolutely, they should have been more vigilant, right? People in the porn industry tend to be very tight-lipped, and I mean, I've been trying for months now to try to get somebody from the industry to talk about this stuff and have not succeeded. But they tend to be a very closed-off, insular group. That industry is what I've noticed, and as a result, you know, they're not open to suggestions or being told what to do, because they have people targeting them all the time. So unless you go, it's almost like you have to build up some street cred before they will even listen to you or even want to talk to you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
So what you're saying before about the about Pornhub having a Wild West attitude. That's where I managed to actually grab and download bootlegged Rogue One, the only actual real half-decent Star Wars movie that Disney's produced. All things being equal, in regards to anything that's pedophile related, it's a massive industry. It is an incredible. It's an incredibly okay, yeah. What you're saying about the porn industry being very secretive and very, very not necessarily hostile, but certainly not easy to work with for anybody that's outside of it. And Vinny will, no doubt, will be able to attest to this to some degree or another. There's really not much of a difference between. Well, I think kiddie porn is kind of the entry point to
the abuse to children to begin with anyway. It's the gateway point of entry, I guess, would be the best way to say it. It's we kind of talked about this before with Sacha Baron Cohen, where he more or less had uncovered or recorded the underage sex trafficking in Vegas. I mean, shit. Here in Calgary, City Hall was talking about getting whatever it is that the TV or film industry producers or whoever, whatever they wanted, they'd find a way to do it. And I'm sorry to say this, I don't see that being very different than if they need to procure some kids. City Hall will do it and turn a blind eye. I mean, I can only imagine how much I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the Pornhub premium account, would be to see all of that. But then again, too, I've also heard about one girl, well, she's a woman now, but there was someone that found out that this daughter's parents of the daughter that saw her engaged in sex acts, she was 16 at the time. And being part of the club requires that you turn a blind eye to this kind of stuff if you're not actively engaged in it to begin with. Now, Pornhub being based in Montreal, that's actually not terribly surprising for me when I think about it in kind of the big picture kind of scheme of things. And Montreal's not, well, Quebec, the Quebec government, one of the biggest mafias in North America is also branched out into Montreal. So I could see them being very much really heavy into this kind of stuff to begin with. And I don't know. I mean, well, actually, no, I do kind of know. I mean, if I'm going to expect any place in Canada to be one of the worst cesspools to be living in terms of political and civil corruption, I'm sorry, but Montreal is pretty much right at the top. I don't think Toronto is much better, and I certainly don't see Vancouver being a great place to be in. I don't think Calgary's any better either. But if there's one place I would expect that it would be the best, it would be, if you're going to get something, you're going to get it done, I could see Montreal being at the top of the list. I really do. And at the end of the day, to put it mildly, I think that we can only guess at the income, the lucrative income that they were getting for kiddie porn, or how much of a possible kickback they might have been getting for it. I have no idea. I can only imagine the subscription-only access that you would only be able to see, and what you would probably get with Pornhub would offer as well too. So, I mean, I'm not quite there with how Gab regards porn, but I'm starting to get to that point where I'm trying to detox myself from it. Now, if it's a very sexual couple that they're at the end of the day, they're exhibitionists, obviously, if they're recording themselves and they put it on Pornhub or wherever. Amateur porn I don't have an issue with, but then again, enough, that girl that was 16 that was raped, shall we say, raped, that flew in under the wire because it was also amateur as well. So, I mean, you can get a woman, you know, you get the right kind of makeup, you can make a woman look a couple to a few years younger than she might be. And if she's getting close to hitting, if she isn't 16, if she's in 18, you could with the right lighting, I'm sure, and makeup, get her to look like she is actually 18. So I'm kind of ashamed, actually, that Pornhub is based out of Montreal. I really am. But then again, I also wish that Quebec would also separate so that way they're their own country and I don't have to be associated with those fuckers anymore. So, take all of that however you will. Vinny, I offer the chair to you.
Well, I'm just eating some dinner right this second. Let me just finish my mouthful while I mull over this particular topic. So we're talking about an industry that is, for all intents and purposes, satanic, you know, and by all means, especially in the United States in any way, is merely a prostitution ring that's found a loophole around the laws against prostitution in the United States, where it's illegal to sell your body for sex. But if you sell your body for sex and you film it, that's porn industry stuff, you know, we can't touch it. You know, it's just like, well, that seems like an awfully large loophole here. And if they're willing to engage in those kind of acts and things of that nature, then, I mean, have a look at Hollywood, how much pedophilia is set in there. And there's bound to be a bunch of people who have, you know, sicker tastes than most. And any business, generally speaking, if they only care about the bottom line and they're satanic in and of themselves as an industry, I mean, the question is, why would anybody be surprised that this is the case? You know? So I don't really have much to say on the topic other than that we're basically just heading into a more satanic, more pedophile-friendly future, and it's disgusting and it's horrific.
Yeah, I would probably just lay it out to just sheer and simple greed and lust. Not to mention the whole issue of sexuality has just got all sorts of loaded issues around it. And it just says, I mean, it's not a very comfortable subject to talk about. And here we have this is kind of like one of those catch-22s. The people who I've noticed that are the most comfortable in talking about it are the people who are the most experienced in it, which are prostitutes, porn stars, etc., 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 or escorts. And it's even trying to remember what the name is. The guy who wrote the first book about human sexuality, who was based out of St. Louis. I mean, where he got most of his research data at the very start, I'm trying to remember what the name of the guy is. It wasn't Dr. Spock, it was somebody else. But I mean, what he had to do to get information is he literally had to go and have he would go to the St. Louis area prostitutes. Like, he had probably about 2 or 3 dozen of them that he would talk to on a regular basis, and pimps and the occasional John. And that is where he got the basis for doing his research on human sexuality. So it's sort of, it's kind of like a weird catch-22. And anytime you start bringing up this issue, of course, it's like literally just a half step between pornography and pedophilia. Like, they're like on the same track, but they're on a different track. And it's, you have the mainstream porn stuff, which is just two consenting adults, and everybody dots the I's and crosses the T's and whatnot to make sure everything's all safe and legal. And it's just like literally just a half step away. And yeah, I mean, the whole thing to me, what appears to be with Pornhub is just straight up greed. There probably might be a few Satanists in there. I wouldn't disagree with this Vinny. There's probably a few outright true believers in there as well. Anyway,
Well, I mean, on that point, let's not forget Mark Passio's term "de facto Satanist," where you're satanic in practice, if not by name.
Interesting. Okay, I had never heard about that. I've never heard that term before. And I got something stuck in my teeth here for some strange reason. So yeah, let's just get on with the next topic here. Okay.
It's an awkward time to get something stuck in your teeth, I must say. But go ahead.
It's stuck in my teeth here, so I have to say what I'm going to say about Luke Rudkowski and everything, and then I'll have to step away for a minute here. So, topic number 6 on this particular, and this will conclude the 331. Luke Rudkowski was at J6. Now, if you listen, in particular, if you listen to CNN, by the way, CBC and CNN, and this should come as no surprise to Rearson here. CBC and CNN have combined forces, and I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. There is an actual satellite network called CBCNN, which I'm sure is just full of accurate and detailed information. And one of the things I'm finding out here is that, and I'm finding this rather peculiar. The Justice Department is all of a sudden on this new kick about arresting people who are at J6 all of a sudden, and it's pretty obvious that it's coming probably all the way from the White House. I don't know why they're suddenly doing all of this, because it's not really conveniently timed for the election, but. They're doing it among the people. Luke Rudkowski, and the scene that I remember with Luke Rudkowski when he was at the Capitol building was him standing there telling everybody not to go inside. He did not go inside himself. His only real technical violation on J6 was maybe standing on the steps and imploring people not to go by. Here is the thing. They used and this is something that I'm sure Vinny is familiar with, process as punishment, where, they just kept dragging things out and dragging things out and dragging things out and dragging things out with Luke until eventually he just ran out of money and he had to take a plea deal in order to just get it over with. So now he's got a permanent criminal record and all. Yeah, okay, there is a possibility that Trump will probably pardon him, and I'm not especially hopeful at this point that there's going to be the rebound under Trump that everybody is thinking there's going to be. The issue here is that, the Biden administration, and you're also seeing this up in Canada too now, by the way. We're going to be covering the Canadian convoy trials on 333, for instance. You're starting to see a lot of just plain old malicious, this is Banana Republic stuff, malicious prosecution of political opponents. All of these, and can't say for sure whether Trump did any of them or not. He is part of that New York system, and he was in the construction industry, so he had to deal with the mob, whether he wanted to or not. So he had to be kind of ruthless
not kind of really. He had to be ruthless if you're gonna be in that industry in New York City, which is really strongly mob controlled. You have to be ruthless and hard. Now, does that? So yeah, I mean, he had to look the other way on some very amoral, sick people. Jeffrey Epstein is definitely one of them. But yeah, Luke Rudkowski, basically what happened with him is that they went after him and they just kept they twisted the facts of what he was doing. Oh, well, he was encouraging people to go inside, even though there's a clear video of him saying that to not go inside. He was quote unquote leading the charge from the White House. Here's the issue with it. If you look at the Revolver article, like the fence got torn down probably like 6 minutes before the end of the Trump speech. It actually got taken down before Trump even said that go over and protest politely over at the Capitol building. So, there's no way that Luke Rudkowski was part of a quote-unquote conspiracy. The whole thing, again, when we get into the Russell Brand situation and the way they're attempting to indirectly target Rumble over Russell Brand, this was being done, I think, specifically to try to have a chilling effect on any because mainstream media is just like the building isn't on fire and it's the whole rotting system is about to collapse, and these independent on the ground reporters are doing much better content like even on local stories. These people are doing much better content coverage than the mainstream media. Like, for instance, in the city that I'm in, they're attempting to do the same thing that they're doing down in Calgary, and the mainstream television stations here in Edmonton just won't even mention it. And and they're also in Edmonton. We're the trial city for the experiment on the 15-minute cities, and the local media won't cover that either. Right? Like, they're trying to sneak it past everybody and have everybody not notice. And, as when we get to Vinny, and I think Vinny will go next here, I'm sure Vinny is very familiar with charges just being made up out of the blue. They just basically went after Luke Rudkowski until Luke Rudkowski ran out of money. What really kind of gets me is that, and this, I have to be a little bit critical of Luke Rudkowski here. Why did Luke Rudkowski not start asking for assistance? There are definitely enough lawyers in the United States that somebody would have taken up his case for free if he'd been willing to ask for it. Now, maybe he's proud. Maybe he didn't think about it. There's paralegals that are as good, maybe even better than most lawyers. So I mean, it's not like Luke Rudkowski couldn't have gotten the legal help if he needed it badly enough. So, but again, right, without actually being in Luke Rudkowski's shoes, I don't know exactly what's happening. But this is he's a reporter, and when they start, they're going after political figures. They're going after independent reporters. They're currently trying to, through Russell Brand, they're trying to they're trying to get Rumble to toe the line, is what appears to be. This all appears to be a coordinated attempt to try to chill the alt media before the election takes place. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vinny, and I'm going to go get this goddamn thing out of my teeth.
We have in New Zealand a lot of very similar things happening. And, first of all, I'd like to say, oh, my goodness, the Bubba and the Mama trying to have a bath in the background here. I'm just going to close this door here. Sorry, guys. I'm not Got prepared for this radio show very well. Anyway, Luke Rudkowski, what a great guy. I never actually have gotten the chance to talk to him in my entire career, not in person anyway. There was one text exchange we had on Skype where he was looking for some music for his documentary that he was making at the time. But other than that, no communication, which is a bit sad. I would have loved to have had him on the show. But yeah, back in the day, I think like 15, 16 years ago, I was watching Luke Rudkowski going out and ambushing people with a camera and stuff like that. I was like, hey, why don't I do that? And I did start doing that. So thank you, Luke, for your inspiration. Now, if Luke at the time going out and busting all of these people and stuff like that immediately got arrested and then sent to jail for like 8 years or something like that on some kind of trumped up charge, would I have been as motivated to go out and start making videos and things of that nature? Maybe, maybe not. And that's the chilling effect that we're talking about. And myself, I think during the Christchurch Mosque massacre in 2019, I was visited by the police and called by the police like 6 times in a week. And so that was, people trying to send a chilling effect. Don't talk about this, Vinny. Don't mention the words false flag, Vinny, And in New Zealand now, we've got almost every single person who's of note in the independent New Zealand media is currently facing charges for something. Me and my friend Billy TK, we were like the number 1 and number 2 truthers in New Zealand. And then we got arrested protesting lockdown and sentenced to 3 and 4 months prison for what amounts to standing within 2 meters of another person. And the people running in the election right now, Liz Gunn and her party, New Zealand Loyal, she's currently facing charges for assault on a police officer who nearly broke her thumb, and her cameraman as well, who was thrown to the ground and smashed his $15,000 camera. And the airport where this incident happened, where these police just came out of nowhere and just brutally assaulted them and took them down, the airport footage is not being released for the prosecution's case or the defense. They're just keeping it secret. And so that's just but a couple that I can name, but there's a much, much more extensive list. So this chilling effect that we're talking about here, I'm reminded of the 2020 election where I was helping out Billy TK with his election campaign. And we did a public meeting at a place with a guy named Tex, who was telling us, he's from Hong Kong, and they were telling us about when the Hong Kong handover happened, and there were all these protests and things like that in Hong Kong. It was big in the news. What wasn't big in the news is how many protest leaders subsequently went missing. And I was talking to my partner yesterday. I asked her to guess how many people went missing. And she goes, protest leaders? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't know. How many could there possibly be in this place as small as Hong Kong? She goes like 5. And I was like, more. She's like, 10. It was like, more. What, like 20? It was like, more. It was like 100? More. 500? More. 1,000? More. It was 10,000 protest leaders went and just disappeared after their actions against the Chinese government. And China has big, big tendrils into all of the Western nations, essentially. They've infiltrated our bureaucracies, they've infiltrated our government, and they've infiltrated the organized crime circuits and things of that nature now. And the Hong Kong police are now training the New Zealand police how to handle protests. So that's kind of a bit frightening. So what are we going to be seeing here is that initially when the deplatforming stages happened, they started with numero uno Alex Jones off of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube in a day, simultaneously. And I thought, well, if people don't kick up a big enough stink about this, those social media platforms are going to start doing that to everyone who's telling the truth. Because if they can do it to the biggest of us, Alex Jones, then none of us have got a chance. And sure enough, I was right. Nobody kicked up a stink, or at least not a big enough one. And they took that as the okay to censor absolutely everybody. And now we're at another crossroads here where if Luke Rudkowski is going to prison and nobody's kicking up a big enough stink about it, they're now going to trump up charges and take this as a pat on the back. Yeah, go and arrest every single person in the United States with a camera who tells the truth. Just make something up and just get them out of here, man. We don't want their information. I remember when I got off of my bail conditions, 6 weeks of being banned from accessing the internet. No mobile devices allowed, not allowed to leave the house, getting bail checks, 4 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night, whatever, all sorts of crazy times. And I think one of the first shows I went on, the female host was so triggered by the things I was saying that she had to leave the show, right? And not because she supported me and she was offended by what happened to me or anything like that, but because she was offended by the things I was saying. She actually said, I shouldn't have the right to have a radio show, right? This is where the public level of consciousness is. They have been dumbed down, indoctrinated, and every person that thinks for themselves in any way, and there's a lot of ways to think for yourself, should be very, very concerned now about what they're saying, what they're doing, and how they're going to survive, because this culture is going to get worse, not better. If you look at Russia, and during the communist reign under Stalin, schizophrenia was a big thing, because if you're a truther and you're living in communism, like truth matters to you and you know how important it is, but you have to forget all that when you walk out and put your communist uniform on every morning and pretend to be this communist and whatnot, because if you say anything or even so much as look the wrong way or something about stuff, you could get in real trouble. You could be sent to a gulag for the rest of your freaking life. And so the stress of living in a society where you can't be yourself, where you can't say what you think, where you can't do what you know is right, because the state, with all its potentially thousands or millions or whatever of armed, brainwashed thugs, says you can't. And if you say that, oh, yes, I can, they'll say, oh, no, you can't. And they will crush you with every means under their disposal. They have the ability to arrest you. They have the ability to surveil you. They have the ability to trump up charges. They have the ability to throw you in prison without those charges even, as has happened to a lot of people in the activism circuits that I've covered in a long time. So we are in dire straits. And if people don't realize the emergency of the situation by just Luke Rudkowski's case in isolation, then we're headed for a very, very big fall indeed, and everybody's going to get rounded up. The New Zealand police have just issued a statement saying that if you know somebody talking about conspiracy theories or talking against the government or the police, we want to know about it. So I'll just leave it there for the moment. And I'd like to hand over the mic now, if you'd be so kind.
I would be so kind. I'm not terribly surprised with the developments of what's going on in New Zealand. For fuck's sakes. Canada just gave the... You're good, mate. You're real good. Thanks for fighting against Russia. A Luftwaffe SS soldier. Are we at the point where New Zealand is in Canada? No, not yet. Everything about J6, January 6th, at some point I'm expecting to hear, yes, sir, yes, we did find out that you have been talking about January 6th and blah, 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 blah. So I should get a hold of you at that point. Vinny, what do I say? Maybe compare notes. I mean, it's not funny, but I have to try to find some fun out of all of this. I can only hope and pray that with what we're dealing with right now is the wake up call to have people start to do or say anything. I'm not as my time to shine, I guess. I've been told that my time to shine is going to be in about 2 years from now. And I'm not really doing anything on Facebook anymore. Oh, lovely. I'm not on Facebook anymore. Well, I am there, but I haven't logged in oh, good Lord, 3. It's been easily a month. No, not a month. It's been like 2 weeks I haven't been on. Don't really miss it all that much. But it's a platform that I don't bother with really much anymore because that's much that I lost a lot of friends. I mean, you want to talk about censorship. Again, I had my other Facebook account you have 30 days to submit your driver's license to get your Facebook account back. I went, fuck that. So, and that was over Hunter Biden's laptop, the thing I had posted up on there. So I already lost enough contacts, and I don't remember half of them, and I have no motivation to find them out anymore anyway. And I guess in a way I'm self-censoring I'm self-censoring because I'm just not motivated anymore to really say anything because no one really is going to listen. No, my experience is that no one has listened to me in the past, or they're just going to kind of pat me on this, like, oh yeah, okay, thanks for yours and thanks. Okay, well you just go over to the corner there and you just go over there and you go play with the other people. I don't bother anymore. I really honestly don't. I'm ready to do things, but every time that I think about jumping into some sort of protest, I naturally just forget all about it and I go about my day. And it's not that I'm not purposely aware, it's just I tend to be forgetful. And with everything that's happened with COVID and now January 6th and fucking everything else, I already know most people aren't going to listen to me anyway, so I'm just going about my day. It's like, yeah, we'll talk about this when we need to. I'll be happy to explain what my viewpoints are, have been the whole time, and let's compare notes. But in terms of January 6th, everything they've been doing has been to cover it all up. I mean, God. And we've talked about this before. I would love to know how you can open up a 20,000-pound magnetically sealed door without it being opened up from the inside. I mean, that fact alone that should make anyone scratch their head. And not my luck. I'll be talking to people.
What magnetically sealed door? What are you talking about? Is this on 9/11? The looting?
No. This is not 9/11. This is
sorry. Let me explain this because I know the doors. The doors to the Capitol building are magnetically sealed. In order to open, well, I mean, if you had like a backhoe or something like that, if you had an industrial piece of machinery, you could maybe force those doors open, but they're magnetically sealed because I've got a security background. The only way that you can open magnetically is is either you have to have like really massive mechanical force on the other side to force them open, or you have to turn off the switch, which is usually at the front desk. There's also maybe a backup in the security office. Those doors cannot, it's very difficult to force open magnetically sealed doors unless somebody specifically turns the magnets off. So in order for them to have gone through those doors were either not magnetized from the start, or somebody turned off those magnetized doors before the protesters got there. Now, I've seen footage of them actually breaking through the windows and getting in, but that was just one individual who was arguing with me about Jacob Chansley, the Buffalo Q Shaman guy. So yeah, there were points at the Capitol building where they did break in and open the doors from the inside, but there were also there were also doors that were clearly left unlocked as well. So yeah, it looks more and more like a setup. That's what he means by magnetically sealed doors. Go ahead, Spearson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another false flag. Lure them in and then use it against them.
Well, that was more of it being, and I think we can all agree on this one. I mean, you had Washington D.C. police or the whatever security force was in place. Yeah, come on in, folks. Come on in. Yeah, no, come on in. They don't do that. The police were helping take down the barriers for the protesting. So my opinion is that everything related to January 6th was all a setup. And I'm hoping that the right people are in place to pull all these shenanigans to basically just start to wake people up to what's really going on. I mean, this is all a massive psyop, and I think we can all agree on that one as well too. And it's, but I mean, then again, right now we're having a lot of U.S. government corruption. Sorry, swamp level corruption is now slowly being revealed as well as to what's going on. I mean, shit, there was a senator, I'd never heard of the guy's name before, but he's been caught up in a sting, or at least revelations of that he was accepting physical gold as for being bribed. So how deep and wide the swamp is, or the corruption, the rot, whatever, there are going to be people that are going to be at the forefront that are going to be taking the brunt of this. And Vinny, I hope that you're not one of them, but perhaps you are. I don't know. And I genuinely mean that. I hope you're not.
I mean, after 2.5 years in court and the worst sentence for COVID violations in the Western world being passed down to us, I think I'm being targeted. There's no certainty. There's only opportunity.
Are you sure? Are you butt crack sure?
I don't know the difference, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say butt crack sure.
All right. Jimmy Kimmel from the Man Show. Oh my God, yeah. The social justice warrior Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, I want to tell you about the exploitation of women. Well, I completely ignored the fact that it did 3 seasons of what would be considered. Yeah, it was called the Man Show. Boobies, beer, the whole thing. It was just unabashedly male, and Jimmy Kimmel was one of the hosts. Huge champion for feminism at the same time, right?
Yeah, but like January 6th and everything else related to that. But we're not going to talk about that. We
Yeah,
weren't going to
so
talk about that.
there was
so.
there was a there was an episode, there was a part of it where it was like, guess that butt crack, and it would be like, they said, are you sure, or are you butt crack sure, right? Anyway, so that concludes this particular round of 332. It took us 331. It took us 4 videos to actually get it done properly. I think we probably went over, we may have gone over 3 hours on it, but this concludes this particular episode of 331. We're going to immediately hop into 332 here, because there's 5 topics on the Hollywood special. We're going to get that out of the way tonight as well. But thank you, everybody, for showing up. Just remember, Patreon on the Roki 5 subscribe star as the Red Pill Nation. And yes, I just recently, like Vinny wasn't here for it, but I just recently started accounts at Kick and Twitch. I may experiment with some live streaming over the next week or so, just to see what that's like. I don't know what I'm going to be streaming about, but it's likely going to be some icky red pill manosphere kind of stuff. So that is it for this particular show. Give everybody about 5 or 6 minutes here, then we'll 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll hop back right on for the Hollywood special, which is 332.
Well, thank everybody for tuning in. My name is Vinny Eastwood. I'm the Alex Jones of New Zealand, for lack of a better title. Go to thevinnyeastwoodshow.com. It's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question. And Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news. And there's like 15 years of work and archives with all the world's top truthers. And we're talking about the most horrible things in the world with people nobody's ever heard of, that nobody wants to listen to, and we're making it fun.
Oh, absolutely. A show because the absolute worst thing in the world, and we have to make it fun just to make it palatable for people to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time Ricky Gervais gets introduced on stage as Golden Globe Award-winning comedian Ricky Gervais, and he gets out and he starts making his jokes and things like that. But because your expectations are so up here because of his introduction, you find that the jokes aren't as funny as you thought they would be. So that's why on my show, we say that the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes.
Exactly. Anyway, guys, take 10. I'm actually going to go make something to eat here, so it might be more like 15. I'm just going to put some ramen on. That shouldn't take very long. And then we'll pick it up in about 10 or 15 minutes. All right?
People in the black community, myself, often worry that we might be a victim of police brutality. So, as a public service, the Chris Rock Show proudly presents this educational video. Have you ever been face to face with a police officer and wondered, is he about to kick my ass? Well, wonder no more. If you follow these easy tips, you'll be fine. First, obey the law. Laws were made for a reason. Think of them as hints. You've heard people say, man, I wouldn't do that shit if I was you. Well, here's some of that shit. Carjacking, armed robbery, arson, selling drugs, buying drugs, stabbing, shooting. You know, you probably won't get your ass kicked if you just use common sense. If you jump a subway turnstile, you might just get off with a warning from the police. But if you jump a turnstile carrying a loaded gun and smoking a joint, then maybe you need your ass kicked. We all know what happened to Rodney King, but Rodney wouldn't have got his ass kicked if he had just followed this simple tip. When you see flashing police lights in your mirror, stop immediately. Everybody knows, if the police have to come and get you, they're bringing an ass kicking with them. Here's a no-brainer. If you're listening to loud rap music, turn that shit off. Last thing, fuck the police while you're getting pulled over by the police is just ignorant. When an officer approaches your car, be polite.
Is there a problem, officer?
And stay in your car with your hands on the wheel.
What the fuck do you want, motherfucker?
Unless you want your ass kicked. Want to give a friend a ride? Not so fast. Your friend might be crazy. Now, before you let your friend in your car, ask them these questions. Do you have a gun? Do you have drugs? Do you have any warrants? And in case you do get pulled over by the cops,
License and registration, please.
remind your friend to do this one thing. Shut the fuck up.
Man, don't give him shit. What the fuck you want?
If you have to give a friend a ride, get a white friend. A white friend can be the difference between a ticket and a bullet in the ass. Here's a tip you should never forget. If your woman is mad at you, leave her at home. Because a mad woman will say anything.
He got weed! He got weed!
If your woman is mad at you, there's nothing she'd like to see more than you getting your ass kicked.
That's right! Kick his motherfucking ass! Take a dummy, shut up no more! Take his weed too! He got weed! He got weed!
Now let's review. Obey the law. Use common sense. Stop immediately. Turn that shit off. Be polite. Shut the fuck up. Get a white friend. And last but not least, don't ride with a mad woman. If you follow these simple pointers, you probably won't get your ass kicked by the police.